Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas of Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's podcast, I sit down with my good friend Scott Mills, who is now a retired Toronto police officer after 30 years in policing. One thing about Scott is he's the ultimate community builder as far as I'm concerned. He gets community 100%. He's also a bit of a trailblazer. He was one of the big reasons that Toronto police is where they are today with their social media efforts. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this great conversation I had with Scott. Hey everybody, I'm here with my good friend Scott Mills. Scott just retired after 30 years with Toronto Police, and I thought we'd talk a little bit with Scott about lessons learned, things he had done. How are you today, Scott?
I'm fine, thanks, Rob. Thanks for inviting me down to your podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate having you. 30 years, that's a long career. How are you feeling these days?
I feel good. Um, it's hard to believe 30 years passed that fast, but in hindsight, when I start breaking it down in my mind, I can pretty much remember every single year, and it was a lot of time missing special occasions and working when the rest of the world was having fun
Yep.
and when the rest of the world was sleeping. And so, quite frankly, I'm not going to miss that, but I am going to miss the work, and I'm gonna miss my colleagues and the people out there. But thanks to social media, I really got involved with social media over the years. I'm still connected with so many members of the community and so many of my colleagues, and I think that's a huge benefit for me because my identity now for 30 years has been a police officer. When I was 5 years old in kindergarten, my mother saved a piece of artwork, and it was the caption that the teacher had written on it was "I'm a policeman. This is my car," and I still have that. When I became a police officer in 1990, my mother put that in a frame, and at the bottom of the frame, she had a picture of my police car in real life and me in my police uniform. And I've always had that dream to be a police officer. I don't have any regrets. It's so nice to be financially secure, having a pension, and it's looking back, I don't have any regrets. I seem to be still carrying a little bit of the baggage of the job that comes, but all in all, I don't even know if I would do it again, to be honest with you. If I had knowing what I know now, I may not do it again, but um, I did it. It's been my life. It's always going to be a part of my life, and I'm proud of my service.
Yeah, yeah. I get that 100%. It's funny. It's being a police officer takes a lot, and you've done an exemplary job, and it's done. By the way, folks, it's hard to get to a podcast in this house sometimes without dogs doing what they shouldn't be doing, but that's, par for the course. But saying, you've done a really good job. You were saying you were thinking about what you remembered, and I was thinking earlier this week to the first time we met, and that's about 12 years ago. And I kind of play that day quite a bit because, I always say there's people you meet that make a big difference. And Scott Franco, you're one of those people. So thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for saying that, Rob. I appreciate the fact that, for over 12 years, you as a community member was able to work with me, helped me. You're almost like a protector for me out there.
Yeah.
I was so hardcore out on the internet as a police officer, and it was kind of breaking new territory at the time when I was doing that.
Yeah.
And the fact that community members like yourself, connected with me, and then we became friends, and now into my retirement, we're still friends. And the amount of, thinking back of all the things that you and I did together that were, technically related, that I didn't have the knowledge and skills to pull off by myself, or if I did have the knowledge and skills, I didn't have the number of hands I needed to do it. And you were there to do that with me, and I'm pretty grateful for that. And you're right on top of security, and all those emails that you send me about an article here and an article there, it really keeps me up on my game, because I'll click on those articles and I'll read them, and it just would change my mindset about what I need to be doing. And and it helped me to serve other people that were experiencing some issues with security, and the big thing is harassment online.
Oh, is it ever? I mean, my biggest joke is I've developed a band of haters due to my association with you and several other people in Toronto Police, which is a relationship I've always valued. And as you know, I've developed my own I Hate Rob group exactly out of that. Like it never.
That's the thing, and that's why I'm really grateful for the people that stuck by me, because for becoming a friend with a police officer, to me, just makes sense. Over the years, but I came from a small town in southwestern Ontario, so everybody kind of looked up to the police and trusted the police.
Yeah.
And once you're a police officer in Toronto, it's a whole different game, and you do develop, especially in the online world. There are a lot of internet warriors out there that think that they can say anything they want behind a screen that they most likely wouldn't say to your face, or maybe they would.
Yeah.
But I saw that time and time again because of social media. Other people could see that people like you were affiliated to me, and they got vicarious harassment on the internet because of it. And it's not good. And it's something that I came to accept. And I think people like yourself who, over 12 years had a relationship with me in a professional capacity, me as a police officer and you as a contributing community member, we came to accept it. But I think there's still a fear factor among a number of people in the community to have a relationship in a professional capacity with a police officer and show that that's happening on social media.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, we were talking, and through you and through I've developed, as you know, I've got a lot of good friends, especially colleagues of yours, and I can tell you the number of times I've reached out and said, I know you're working today. What's going on here, or what's going on there? Or I've had conversations even since I moved out of Scarborough, where I was very actively involved, and had conversations where I've run into police officers on the beat, and they say, oh, so-and-so, and we get in a conversation because of connections, and it helps so much. I mean, what people don't understand is if you're out and about and you see something, pick up the phone and call. And frankly, that means maybe calling the non-emergency number, maybe firing it off to a colleague, which I've done with you how many times over the years? I can't even count them. Picking up the phone and knowing who's on social media, working the desk for Toronto Police or any other force and saying, I need some help. It's all about relationships, and people don't understand that.
Well, a lot of times when you would send me information like that, I didn't even know what had happened because the volume is just so great. But what I would do when I got information from a trusted community source like yourself is I would look into it, and I would educate myself as to what happened on that. And many times the phone started ringing to our team from media about what you were sending me to give me the heads up on, because you have to turn off on the social media every once in a while, and you need to just get away from it, or for your own mental health. So it's so great having the community eyes and ears. There's so many people out there that have helped me over the years. For over 10 years, I was the Toronto Police Service social media officer.
Yep.
And wow, did time ever fly. And I kind of got put in there by the deputy chief at the time. His name's Peter Slowly.
Good friend of both of ours. Yeah.
And now he's the chief of Ottawa Police. But it wasn't easy when he made that move, and a lot of people didn't want me doing that, and there was a lot of kicking and screaming that was going on. But then a lot of the people that were kicking and screaming at the time started to really see the value of it, and then we became close collaborators. And now the whole social media is a part of Toronto Police Service, and it's not just a kind of a corporate face. That it's, I'm really proud of the fact that there's over 500 members of the Toronto Police that have taken a 3-day social media and communications course, and they're out there being themselves on social media. And a lot of people say, that in itself has inherent risk. Well, being a police officer has inherent risk. So the more avenues that police officers have to positively connect with community members for the success and safety of our community, the better our community will be, and the safer it'll be. And I strongly believe in that. So that to me is one of my greatest accomplishments, was getting that policy officially incorporated into the Toronto Police Service and sustaining it over a 10-year period. And then now when I'm retired, whatever happens moving forward happens. But I think we've established that particular piece, that allowing your members of a police service to have official social media accounts, as long as they have training and they're trained, what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and what you can't say, essentially basically keeping operational duties to the assigned area. Stay in your lane is the message. And the secondary overall message is don't be stupid. And all of the rules and regulations that apply to a police officer in doing your regular duties apply to a police officer using social media. So it's pretty simple. But there's still a bit of a resistance to it for that, allowing police members to actually go out and do that. That the police leaders are still a little bit weary of it. And it's it's still a work in progress, and I'm grateful for opportunities like this to actually discuss it more in depth, because even if one or two people hear this that have the role to further something, they can take this information and use it in making their decisions about how to do social media for law enforcement going forward.
So true. I want to share a story, and you and I remember this day well. We were on the way to a Twitter 140 meetup, and there was a string of sexual assaults at Christie Pitts. And you and I went down to live stream. I was with you, and you said, come along and watch the show. And we get down there, and there was a Toronto Star reporter who missed the live press conference that the detective held. And what had happened was we sat down with him after and said, here's the live stream, here's the video. And he was the only reporter who got all the facts 100% right. And he actually emailed you, I think after the fact, and correct me if I'm wrong, to thank you and I for the time of walking him through it. And his story was bang on. And so some people look at stuff and say, well, why do you live stream? Why do you do this? That's exactly why we did that, because it got the message out. And in those days, what we live streamed it off was your Mac with a webcam, right? Sitting and a rocket stick sitting on a corner on a sidewalk. And
yeah, I remember that day, Rob, and there were so many days like that, and where, you know, I found myself out in the community, and you know, I was borrowing power from media. And you know, like there'd be all these satellite trucks for all these media people, and then there'd be me standing there, you know, little old Scott Mills from Toronto Police Corporate Communications with his little webcam and his laptop, looking to steal a power source from somebody. And and you know, as you know, on the traditional media, everything becomes a small clip. Yeah. And with the live stream of the entire thing, people can listen if they're interested in this. They can listen from the start to the finish of what was said at a press conference. Yeah. And they can go back and rewind and fact check, and they can go back and share the whole thing with people that are you know, directly affected. And it's such a good thing to be able to live stream the whole thing. And I remember in Toronto Police Service corporate communications in the media gallery, when we first started live streaming, it was just doing that, you know, a little webcam with the you know, the rocket stick, and it's just me. And so if I wasn't there, it wasn't going. And it was interesting to see that evolve into the entire video services production unit of Toronto Police Service actually being incorporated under the pillar of corporate communications. They worked in a whole different pillar, whole different set of bosses before we were doing this. And the I say we because it wasn't me alone, because there's a lot of people in the background, yourself included, that were helping me. I was the front end guy, but there's a lot of people on the back end, and the quality was web-based quality. It wasn't studio quality. And so that was always a contentious issue.
I know.
On behalf of the corporation that is not good quality. And my thing always was, the official word is getting out there. It doesn't matter what the quality is. We need to get the official word out there. Yeah. And so then that kind of morphed into our video services unit being moved under the pillar of corporate communications at Toronto Police Service. And we enacted a system whereby they could live stream things in high definition in 3 separate locations in our Toronto Police Service building. So they could do it from a big, huge auditorium. Yep. You know, I remember on some of the major incidents, like the van attack, we would move the press conferences from our media gallery up to that big room. Yeah, no question. And it depended on the event, because I can remember when you did the Danzig shooting, that one was run right out of the media gallery. So it all depended on what fit, what did. But
what people don't realize is the more Toronto Police went online, the more there was a push to get immediacy and quickly information out to the public, right? So
Yeah.
there was that.
So now, just to finish this piece off there, Rob,
Sure.
Now, as soon as there's a press conference about to happen, or is coming in the next couple of days, sometimes we know in advance there's something coming. The first thing we do is pick up the phone to our video services unit to make sure that we've got an operator to do a quality, high definition live stream on YouTube, and they all archive on YouTube. And then we have somebody assigned to properly caption them afterwards.
Yeah.
And, like that all started from, basically people like you and Jeff Brown and Eric Jacks and myself in the background, and Lori Stevens also helped quite a bit in the background.
Yep.
Saying, we got to do this, you got to figure this out. And there was a lot of going back and forth with community members that allowed me to have the knowledge to effectively do that.
Yep.
And then it just got bumped up into live stream. And now when COVID-19 pandemic hit, the vast majority of our corporate communications staff was told to go and work from home. Yep. And then it was really exciting to watch, because I was working at home, yet we were incorporating a system whereby all the other reporters that generally are in our media gallery are sitting in their houses, because they're ordered to work at home because of the pandemic. And we're actually getting them to call in, and we're using all this technology one step further. We're not just live streaming it on YouTube. We're actually engaging back and forth and having questions asked, and the audio is good and everything. And I'm thinking, you know what? That all happened where 10 years ago, that would have been all me kind of trying to brew that stew. I wasn't even involved in actually the back end of doing that. The mindset was that we just have to do that, and we need to assign human resources to do that, and we need to do it well, and we need to do it now. And to me, I just kind of sat back and I said, 30 years is coming up. It's about time I retired. I think we've accomplished what we set out to accomplish here.
Yeah.
And so I'm quite proud of our entire team and the leadership at Toronto Police Service on how that has come to be. I used to be in media scrums on the street in the community and in that media gallery, and I'd be fighting for a spot in the scrum with all these big time media guys with these big cameras and everything. And it gets a little pushy in there sometimes, right?
Oh, it does. No,
I was one of them, and every once in a while, somebody pissed me off, and I'd piss them off. I know I was pissing them off because I was wanting real estate that they wanted, and I remember turning to one camera guy that we always kind of bantered back and forth.
Yeah.
And I go, one day you're going to be out of a job and this little webcam here is going to take over.
Yeah.
And he didn't like that very much, but it's pretty true.
Yeah. I can remember being in the media room with you on many occasions and shooting pictures, and sometimes it rubbed guys the wrong way. And I can remember doing it with our good friend Jack Boland. And we've all know Jack. For those who don't know, Jack's claim to fame is the Toronto's Sunshine Girl, but he's done many other things. And Jack just looked at me and said, "Go ahead and shoot away. It's not going to impact me." But Jack got it. Some of these guys over the years didn't get it, and
for the most part, to be fair, we have such a great relationship with the media personalities in Toronto and the police. It's really, really good. And we would joke back and forth and things like that. But people got used to kind of me being there doing my thing. And quite frankly, I'm not a journalist. So, you need journalists that are covering that type of stuff. You can't just have the police putting out information. That doesn't work.
So true.
And so, the fact that they kind of let me into their world to do this was an honor, right? Jack's one of those guys. He can take a picture anywhere, like the Gallagher brothers pushed him off the stage one time.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And so it is a bit rough and tumble when things are going down, but you got to be on your game. And
he's on it. He's one of those guys who's always on his game. Like the shots he comes up with, I've talked to him over the years, and it's just absolutely amazing what he'll come up with out of nothing. And
then so many people, because kind of fought for a spot in that scrum. Many people, like you said, that missed the actual press conference and needed to report for their official agency could see it contemporaneously right afterwards or whenever they were able to, and get the story right. And I think that's the important thing is the story is heard in its entirety and it's reported on accurately.
Yeah. I know you're a little pressed for time, but I kind of want to wrap up by sharing a little story. Let's go back to G20, and I think you know where I'm going. And we have a friend who I've met many times through you, a gentleman by Riel Leclerc, and how one police officer, i.e. you, talked him down from threatening to blow up the Toronto Police headquarters building. And keep in mind, Riel was on the street and has mental health issues, and how you and Riel have a friendship that I don't think will ever disappear. Do you want to kind of elaborate on that story a little bit?
Well, it was G20 weekend, and it was kind of looking like Beirut in downtown Toronto. There's police officers all over the place on every street corner. Places were boarded up, and it was definitely a shock to the system for anybody that was in Toronto that weekend. They're expecting some pretty big protests and potential violence. And Riel, a gentleman that works in our IT department, worked in our Toronto Police IT department at the time, was outside of our office at College and Bay. And he came in and he said that there's a man outside. He's threatening to kill 5 police officers. Yeah. And somebody needs to go and deal with them. And so I was in uniform, actually, full uniform with all my use of force options. And I walked out and found myself, there was a guy with, looked like he had something in his hand that was sharp. I kind of thought it was a knife, and he was really agitated, and I just looked at him. I drew my gun down on him, and I was pointing my gun at him, and I was telling him to drop whatever he had in his hand. And he did, and I put my gun away, and I basically said, buddy, threatening to kill 5 police officers this weekend is gonna land you dead or in jail. Yeah. And I go, you can't do that. And full stop, end of story. And he's kind of looking at me like a deer in the headlights. And I just looked at him and I said, you want to go for a coffee? Yeah. And his whole demeanor changed when I said that. And so we walked together over to a little cafe, and we sat on the patio and we had a coffee. And he said, thank you. And I'm like, thank you. Can you please not do what you were doing again? Because I don't want anything to happen to you, and it's not going to be pretty for you. So, anyway, he took my number. He wrote it down on a piece of paper. I gave him the piece of paper and a pen, and he put it in his wallet, and off he went. And he kept calling me from payphones because he didn't have a phone or anything like that. And his name's Riel Leclerc. And we would meet on my way to work or whatever. And he was a garbage dumpster diver. we call downtown. He's a dumpster diver, so he'd sleep in dumpsters. He would get food out of dumpsters, and I'm like, come on, man, like I don't want to see you living in the dumpster anymore. And I asked him, I go, I do all this social media. I go, I'd love to tell your story.
Yeah.
Be into that? And I told him how Twitter worked. And I said, we need a hashtag for you. And he said something in French. He's French. And he said,
from Montreal.
Yeah, something about poubelle. The l'homme du poubelle or something like that. Like the man in the dumpster, right? The garbage man, basically, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what about homeless Joe? And he goes, I like that.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's how the hashtag on Twitter was born, of homeless Joe. And I said, my goal, I said, I'm going to tell you what I post. If I don't want to breach your privacy, but I also want to tell the story of what it's like to be you. And I said, what I believe will happen was, I think other people will see your story and want to help. So sure enough, a street nurse named Anne-Marie Batten saw the story from the tweets. She reached out to me and she said, does he have an income? And I said, no. And she said, introduce him to me. So I introduced him to Anne-Marie Batten, and she said, I'm going to try and get him on ODSP, which is in Ontario. It's Ontario Disability Pension or something. Basically, it's an income. It's a check every month. Not a lot of money, but it's a check. And so we set him up with a bank account. She did.
Yeah.
Got them all set up with ODSP, a lot of forums and stuff like that, which Riel wasn't really into filling out.
Into doing so.
Yeah, we got it all done for him, and he's to this day gets a check from the ODSP. Other people started bringing him food from these tweets and stuff like that. He moves all over the place. We got him into 3 different homes. But he's got some mental health challenges, and he thinks people are coming after him sometimes, and then he has to move. Yeah. And so he's moved all over the place. And like, even my kids have gone up. We've like rented trucks and gone and helped him move his belongings. He's got a couple storage units. He's consolidated down to 1 storage unit now. And he's still living under a bridge. He called me the other day saying that he needed to move again. And I'm just like, oh, come on. But one of the really good things about this is he has a son named Stefan in Quebec. And Stefan had lost his father. He didn't know where he was. And he was searching on the internet. And in telling these stories, like, I'd meet Riel for breakfast, and we'd always take a picture or do a video or something.
Of course,
right?
Of course.
And I'd done this video of Riel saying, "What's your 3 wishes?" And I got that idea from Mark Horvath, who does Invisible People down in the States. He's always trying to profile the stories of people that are homeless so that they can, have better lives, right? And he wanted a home. And he wanted the bullshit to stop.
Yeah.
And that meant is he wanted the mental health issues that were plaguing him to stop. And so ironically, I posted on YouTube. I think I've got 5 YouTube channels, the Toronto BMX, the Legal Graffiti Art, Crime Stoppers. I have so many YouTube channels, Toronto Police. I think there's over 6,000 videos now on YouTube. But YouTube is definitely the place I was on the first and the longest, and it is definitely a way where people can find things. Anyway, 55 Division one day, front desk gets a call from this man saying his name's Stefan Leclerc, and he wants to connect with Officer Scott Mills because he thinks that he knows where his dad is. And next thing you know, I'm talking to Stefan, and I was able to through that connection, was able to reunite Stefan with his father. And Stefan, I believe he's got 3 kids now. And Riel has traveled up there and actually met his grandkids. And he has a good relationship with Stefan's wife. And every single time that I see Riel now, he always wants to use my phone to call Stefan or talk to Stefan's wife. And he asks about the kids and how they're doing and stuff. So Riel's still living under a bridge, but I told him the other day, last time I saw him, but I go, with all this COVID-19, he said it was like, he goes, I'm not going out for anything. He goes, this is like martial law.
Yeah.
And he's living in his shack that he built under a bridge in Toronto, and he's just by himself. He's a bit of a loner. And I kind of looked at him and I said, you're so far ahead of everybody else.
Yes.
in how you think, what you do. And he calls me old man, and we're buddies now. Like if I need advice on life, I go see homeless Joe, and he tells me what I should be doing, and he's right. He's always right. And sometimes he calls me and he's pretty down because I don't think he's talked to anybody else for quite a while. And then you can just hear his voice pick up, right? And his whole mindset changes. And so he knows I've retired now. And the first question out of his mind was, well, am I still going to be able to talk to you or see you? How do I get you? Right.
Yeah.
And I said, Riel, I went out of my way to because he's got my cell phone number memorized, and I've got many calls from police officers he's run into for whatever reason.
Whatever reason. Yeah.
Yeah. And so next thing you know, my phone will ring. And it'll be a cop saying, this guy? I go, oh, yeah, that's my buddy Riel, right?
Yeah.
And they're telling me what's going on, and I go, yeah, that's how Riel lives, and all is good in the hood. So I'll tweet about the fact that, you were really good to him. Or if you're not so good to him, I'll probably tweet that too. So no, but the vast majority of police officers, bylaw officers, city officials and stuff that have come into contact with Riel, they've actually been able to see this story now. Mm-hmm. And they leave Riel alone, and Riel's happy for that. And we're not having the confrontation that started our relationship. Yeah, it's a very dangerous confrontation for everybody involved, and that right there is the key to being a police officer. It's sustainable, like you said, sustainable, long-term relationships. Riel doesn't even have a phone. He doesn't have a house, but we can talk to each other. And one thing that's not known, I used social media as a cop. There are so many police officers out there that have these relationships. It's just that they don't use social media to tell the world about it, right? Yep. And there is a bit of a risk of a privacy issue when you're telling somebody's story. So I've got Riel's permission, but some people would argue that he's not in a mindset to actually give that permission. Well, he is. And he, people have gone and given him money to keep living, to buy food. They've brought food to him. Anything people have sent me clothes for him. They buy Christmas presents for him, and I bring them to him. Yeah. It's so awesome, and it's not hard to do. It's just building that community and building relationships, and I'm fortunate to have done that. And I would like to do that for every single person that's like Riel out there, but obviously I'm only one person. Yeah. But the key thing to this whole story, and you're really good at this too, Rob, and I learned a lot how to do this from you, is talk to the people that are already listening, and your influence will grow.
No question. And yeah, there's no question. I can remember, and I'm going to share, kind of to wrap it up, one little quick personal anecdote. I went through a time in my life about 5 years ago where things were a mess, and I actually ended up in jail. And you were I believe you were at a Crime Stoppers or one of Lori's conferences in the U.S. at the time. And you reached out through contacts just to make sure I was okay. And, I tell that a lot, and I say that's about relationships, and that's something I don't forget. So, I mean, you get given back to you what you put out in life, and it's so true. And people don't understand that. And I think what people like Rial do is they open our eyes open to what the world is really going on. And it makes us think really hard and realize how actually lucky we are at the end of the day, kind of thing. So anyway, I appreciate you joining me today and sharing a couple of stories. I'm sure the city of Toronto is going to miss you. I'm lucky I have a direct line. So, and one of the things that's always impressed me is you're not the know-it-all police officer, Scott. You're not afraid to reach out and say, I don't understand this. You and I had a discussion, I guess a week ago on Twitter about green screens, and I'm looking at one right now, right? So, you kind of
told me what you do. Your answer was kind of, this is what I do. And I'm thinking, there's got to be a different way to do that too.
But that's okay. And
I wanted to know how you did it, because if there was if there's a way to do it, Rob will know.
Yeah, right? and we have those discussions. And one of the things that's always amazed me is, you've kind of taken this technology, but you're not afraid, and you've never been afraid to reach out and say, hey, I don't have the answer, but I know somebody who does. And it might be me, it might be Jeff, it might be Eric, it might be John. You get what I'm saying. And you've always done that very well and said, hey, I don't know it all. And I think that's a big reason your success is because you have the uncanny ability to keep learning, and you keep learning, and you've always learned. I remember joining you on video when you were at Crime Stoppers. I believe it was in Jamaica, if I recall, or somewhere in the Caribbean, and you had me join, and we talked about the whole impact of community on with the Crime Stoppers group worldwide in front of us. And you're always not afraid to go out to people and say, I don't have the answer. Help me here. And that's a big deal.
The more help we can do together, the better. We're better together. We can make a difference together. And I hope to continue our relationship, Rob. And I hope I hope on the social media, I think I might just actually take a picture of you and me here on the screen.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put a little tweet out just saying that we did this morning and to watch for your show, because I think we've had a really valuable, there, smile, mister.
I should tell you folks, I'm usually the one in my family that takes the pictures. And until I met Scott, I was never in enough pictures. So anyway, Scott, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Continued success in all your endeavors. Love you, and we'll talk soon.
All right, let's keep in touch, Rob.
Thanks. All right.
All right.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. I really appreciate Scott Mills joining us and sharing some of his stories in 30 years of policing. If you want to say hello to Scott or have any questions for him, the best way is on Twitter @GraffitiBMXCop. If you want to reach out to me, Rob Cairns, you can feel free on Twitter @RobCairns or on our website, stunningdigitalmarketing.com, for all your digital marketing and consulting needs. If I can help you in any way, please email me, vip@stunningdigitalmarketing.com, or pick up the phone and call us, 416-624-7647. As always, this podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Miss you very much, Dad, and love you. Keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and make your business succeed. Have a great day, everybody.